The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Welcome to your Health and Wellness Hour, sponsored by Luminosity Wellness Center here in Las Vegas, coming to you from the studios of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting. Our goal is to incite and ignite all your senses and curiosities. So sit back, relax, open your mind and your heart, and enjoy the show.
Hi, welcome to the Health and Wellness Hour here at the Luminosity Wellness Center. My name is Shay Sisler, and today I'm here interviewing our guest, Serena Denmark. And I'm just going to let Serena kind of introduce a little bit about herself. So, Serena, you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, where to begin? So I just came to Luminosity. I'm super excited to be here. And I'm a hypnotherapist, so I do NLP and hypnosis are my primary modalities. I've been doing it for about 7 or 8 years, something like that. And before that, I was a nurse, worked in the emergency room for 12 years. I was a flight nurse on a helicopter for 13. And just kind of discovered getting help for family members, discovered NLP and the subconscious mind. One thing led to another, and I haven't ever looked back. It's my passion. I'm totally fascinated with it. And of course, like anything, the more you do it, the more skilled you become. And I love it.
Great. Well, I'm curious, what got you to change your field, to go from nursing into the hypnosis practice?
Okay.
Yeah, I love to hear people's
It's always
stories.
a journey, right?
So, yeah.
Okay, so, originally, I'd done a couple of weekend workshops, and my younger son was having some issues. And so I was looking for alternative help for him. Being in the medical industry, I saw a lot of people who wound up on, Xanax, things like that for panic attacks, anxiety, and he was a child. I was like, I'm not putting my child on medication. So I, discovered tapping and all kinds of different alternative therapies. And then like I said, I fell in love. I took my first course and, of course, discovered that I was the messed up one. I turned into the class guinea pig. And every time the instructor would be doing a process on someone, everybody would just look at me like, you need to get up there. So I did. And it's completely miraculously changed my life for the better. And I wanted to share that with other people, because it helped me so much. I wanted to help others the same way.
So was it hard making that transition from being in the nursing field in the hospital to the hypnosis and the different things that you do?
I wouldn't say it's hard. I mean, it's hard taking that leap of faith that I can support myself financially. It's really, anything's a skill level, but after being a flight nurse, I think nothing is quite as adrenaline-inducing or scary as that.
Wow. I can't even imagine
So
being in
the
that
stakes
world.
are high with that. If you make a mistake, it's obviously big stakes. So, yes, there's a learning curve, and yes, there's a high responsibility because you've got people's lives, hearts, minds in your hands. Which I respect, and safety is always first, as any nurse should be their motto. So a little bit of, a little scary as far as taking that leap financially and jumping off into the deep end to support yourself that way. But I've had some great support from my current boyfriend has been very supportive, so I'm grateful for that.
And that's great. So, and of all of the things that you have learned and researched and done training on, what is the one thing that you really probably enjoy the most?
Ooh.
There's so many,
Vacation
I know.
in Hawaii? No.
But yeah.
The one thing I enjoy the most, that is tough, because, so what I would say I think my greatest skill is being a super sleuth or a great detective. So everybody's subconscious mind creates their, symptom or issue based on their particular memories, their personal traumas, things that have happened to them. And when I say trauma, it may not be something that we consider a trauma. We tend to put certain things as like, oh, that was traumatic. It could be something that's seemingly very benign, but it had a huge impact on them and created a worldview inside of them, which is either stopping them or creating limitation in their life. And so I'll give you a really random example. Someone that a trauma occurred. They were a kid in the back seat of a car facing backwards, and a driver was like staring them down, they thought,
Oh my goodness.
So how could you think that was a trauma, right? It would be really, and without really asking all those questions and kind of, doing that detective work, you would never figure out that was the root cause or the seed of the problem,
Yeah.
So I think that's probably my biggest skill and my greatest gift.
Being able to dig down
Is
and find
finding those
that.
patterns, seeing
That's
those patterns and where things tie in together.
So, can you maybe explain to us a little bit about the mind and how it works?
Whew, that's a big topic. I
Is
did
it?
a 40-minute
Really?
video on that.
So if you go
in
to
3
her
minutes
website.
or less. The subconscious mind, basically it's like we have two different computer processors, okay? You have your conscious mind, which unfortunately only is in control of about this much, and your subconscious mind, which is really running the whole show. And the problem is most of the information from our subconscious mind is not shared with the conscious mind. Okay, so most of it's simply deleted. Now this is actually very handy,
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it great that you don't have to have a chemistry degree so that you know what, what your liver needs to put out to digest your
Right,
food?
I don't want to think about that. Yeah.
Based on what
Just
you had
do
for
it.
dinner, it handles all of that. I mean, it has,
Yeah.
like I said, a chemistry degree, and it remembers everything you've ever seen, heard, smelled, tasted, or touched since you were in utero.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in the filing cabinet. So it's digesting your food, regulating your oxygen exchange, handling your immune system, and it's got all of those memories that are just playing there in the background, and you're thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. Okay? So it's very handy that we don't have to keep track of that, but it also means that when we are reacting to something and we don't necessarily know why this situation produces anxiety or why that person really bugs me and they didn't necessarily do anything to me, it's because your subconscious mind is looking at all of that information going, oh, this is very similar to that time when this happened. That means it's either dangerous or something bad could happen, and we have the reaction as though it is dangerous, even though in this current moment nothing bad might be happening.
Right.
So it's useful in a lot of ways, but it can be a handicap, when it comes to the things that we don't know why we're reacting
Right.
that way.
And that's where you say you're able to dig down and really help people figure those things out.
Right.
Because we've all had trauma in our lives, or little things just like the backseat, somebody sitting in a kid in the backseat of the car. You wouldn't even think that. Sometimes, I come from a large family and I talk to my brothers and sisters and I'm like, I hear the things that traumatize them and I'm like, wow, did we grow up in the same family?
Totally.
I'm like, wow, it didn't even faze me, where them, it just was totally, a whole different experience. So I'm sure you experience that a lot or see that with people. You're like,
Right.
wow. But I know in your situation, you can't be objective when you have a client, right? You have to, just kind of listen to how they feel and way they process information, because everybody is different in the way they process. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So you said I can't be subjective or objective?
Objective.
Okay. So I guess maybe my definition of objective, I'm very objective. Okay, so I'm basically just taking down information.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm putting it all together. So I guess I probably got very used to that as a nurse, right? I had to be able to step into a different part of my mind, right? If I was going, if I watch a movie about a car accident or a kid getting hurt, I'll cry. When I was a nurse, I might be the one putting an IV in a kid, right? So I can't afford, it's not going to help anybody for me to be in that empathetic mode in that moment emotionally.
Right.
I had to go into objective mode to just do what I needed to do. So I think I probably do tap into that skill as a hypnotherapist, because I don't, the most important thing is just letting go of judgment, not judging whether the person that did this to them was terrible or whether they are terrible.
And that's probably a better way to word
right,
that, yeah.
not being judgmental. Because it just doesn't solve anything. If I make them
Right.
the victim, then I'm just actually adding to their problem. It's going to make it more difficult for them to step into their power and overcome it, if I sympathize with them and make them the victim.
Right.
If I, on the other hand, if I'm judging them, they probably are already judging themselves and beating themselves up, right? And, and I'm certainly going to kill any rapport. And if there's not that rapport and trust with you and them, then they're not going to really hand their psyche to you to tinker with.
Right. So I'm sure you experience a big difference from being the trauma nurse to where you are now. Because if you're in the trauma center and you have to give a child a shot or whatever, and you can't show that empathetic side of you, then was that difficult? How did people perceive you at that time as a nurse?
I think you have to be able to in the moment, in the 1 second, flip from being that objective person who's kind of like going to the robot part of your brain, and then when you're, but then there's always that time to be with the person, you know what I mean? So they're just a patient, they're a body that you're working on, and then they're the patient, and you have to be able to go back and forth between those, So I have to be empathetic of the person's feelings and condition, right? But if I go too far into that, like I said, then I'm just reinforcing their victim situation, and that's, a surgeon doesn't need to be empathetic, right? A surgeon needs to be skilled.
Skilled and do what they have to do, right, to make it work.
Bedside manner is very nice, but if you have to pick the skilled person's, when you had the car accident, you'd rather have somebody who's skilled, right?
Exactly, absolutely. So coming and working here at the Luminosity Wellness Center, we're trying to create a community where we have practitioners who just want to look at the world from not the medical point of view of going to the hospital. We want to look at different things. Now, you are a practitioner of hypnosis, but you also do tapping, NLP. So what is the difference? What is tapping, I guess? Because there might be some viewers out there that aren't aware of that. What is that?
So tapping is a bit of an enigma, because I don't know if anybody really knows why tapping works, but they know that it works.
Okay.
So the best description I have of it is that you're tapping on energy meridian points, right? So that's tapping into the energy body the same way an acupuncturist would, right? So we have our physical body, and inside of our physical body we have the bone structure, and we have the veins going through our body, and we also have the lymph system going through our body, and the nerve system going through our body. So we're aware of there's all these different communication systems going through our body. We also have an energy system going through our body, which Western medicine tends to ignore because you can't actually cut it open and look at it with a microscope.
Right. Yeah.
So when we have a thought, a scary thought or a sad thought, we usually feel that emotion somewhere in our chest, right? Or our stomach, or somewhere in the throat, whatever. So there's obviously a communication somehow between thought and the body. So tapping just kind of breaks that feedback loop. So it's not just going back and forth, I have a thought, I feel scared, that makes me think more scary thoughts, and then it goes, and it breaks that cycle.
And so let me ask you, when a client comes to you, if you have people who aren't aware of tapping and what that is, do you typically just introduce that to them at that point? Do you talk about it before, or do you just know that this is something that we need to do?
So every session's different. I don't decide what I'm going to do until I find out, like I said, I do that detective work, figure out how their problem, is pieced together. And then after I do that, then I decide what strategy, whether it's an NLP technique, whether it's a regression, whether it's just trance with some suggestions, tapping, that I'm going to do. Tapping kind of tends to be my get out of jail free card.
Oh yeah, that's great.
If I get into a regression and somebody has a trouble, we can't really progress forward, or they're having a lot of emotion come up, we'll tap that down to a safe zone or to a comfortable zone so that we can proceed.
That's great. And so typically, do people know what that is when you do that?
If it comes up in a regression, I'll say, I do this thing called tapping. Is it okay if I tap? And I don't always have time to explain it.
And that's what I was thinking.
Right.
I thought,
sometimes I just is this okay with you? And usually they're feeling so bad in that moment. That's why I'm doing it, that they're okay with anything. Just make me feel better.
Whatever. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think we're going to take a break from our sponsor right here, and we will be back with you shortly with Serena Denmark today, giving us some information on what she has to offer here at the Luminosity Wellness Center today.
Luminosity Wellness Center is a community of independent holistic practitioners specializing in stress relief, pain reduction, depression, anxiety, weight loss, smoking, relationship issues, trauma, fears, and phobias, as well as everyday life situations. If you are stuck, struggling, or unsatisfied, Luminosity Wellness Center provides answers, solutions, and guidance. Call 702-721-9355 or visit our website at luminositywellnesscenter.com. We have a resource center for all your needs, books, CDs, crystals, and more. Inside the center, we have practitioner and event rooms for rent. Come by and check out the facilities at 2400 North Tenaya Way, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89128.
Hey, we're back here with the Health and Wellness Hour today with Serena Denmark, and we're just investigating and looking at some of the things that she does here as a practitioner at the Luminosity Wellness Center. So to proceed with the questions, I just want to ask, what exactly is NLP, and what does that mean? You know, somebody out there is just new. Like, I just came into this world a couple years, and I still say to people, you know, I do Reiki, and they're like, what is Reiki?
Right.
People don't know it. So for any of those watchers out there who are going to see this, what is NLP?
So NLP, what is NLP? That's $1 million question, because you're going to get 1 million different responses if you ask 1 million people. So I'll just give you a tiny little synopsis history. Okay, NLP was a term coined by two gentlemen in the 70s, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, who made up the term. And NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Neuro meaning neurology, your feelings. Linguistic, obviously language, and the programming of our mind. Okay, so you use language to change the programming, which changes your feeling. Okay, that's in a nutshell. Since that time, so kind of how they got started is they studied some therapists who were just naturally gifted, skilled, an artist in their field. And you know how it is when people are naturals, a lot of times they just know how to do it, but they don't know how they do it.
Right,
Okay?
it just happens, right.
So they studied these particularly skilled therapists, and so that they could break it down to what exactly they were doing so that they could replicate it and then teach it. Okay, so which is a huge gift to all of us who have, you know, been able to take advantage of these people who many have passed on, right? So it's a way that they were able to keep that alive, you know. And then since that time, you know, this is just my opinion and my view of it. People cherry pick, so they sort of like take the best processes, I think, of other people, and then they just kind of put it under this umbrella now that's called NLP. And so NLP means so many different things, okay? But basically, it's just changing the way the brain sees something or views something so that you can create a different experience of it and feel differently about it. Is your ultimate goal is to feel better. So if you're
Right.
feeling non-confident, to feel confident. If you're feeling, you know, anxious, to feel calm, right? That's the end goal, is just to feel better. So some of the things with NLP is, you know, submodalities is a very simple one, okay? So say when you have a memory, we all know that our memories aren't necessarily real, right? There's a crime, there's 10 eyewitnesses. How many different accounts are you going to get? 10.
Right.
Now, it happened one way. There was one criminal, but people literally remember it 10 different ways. Now, one person may have been like, I wish I'd been there. I'd have pulled out my gun and shot. You know. Somebody else might be like, that was the scariest thing that ever happened to me. I can never go back to that store. And I'm, you know. So our experiences are very individual based on our
Right.
history. Now, the person who was scared, when they think of that memory, maybe they were in the 7-Eleven when it got robbed. When they think of the picture of that, it's going to be like really big and in their face and scary and, you know, bright colors and just overwhelming, right? So essentially what happens is our brain takes a snapshot or whether it's a movie or a snapshot, and that memory, that picture, that whatever is coded with that emotion. Make sense?
Uh-huh.
So if I take this really scary picture and I moved it all the way down to the end of the football field, how scary would it feel now? Because you created so much distance, you can't really have the same emotional relationship to it because you don't have the same relationship to it. It's so far away, it seems safe. Or if you put it up on a movie screen, well, now it's not really real, it's just a movie.
It's a movie,
right?
Because we process it different.
One of the, cool things with NLP is you simply change the pictures, or maybe you float up above it and you're looking down at it. So now you have a completely different relationship with it. It's, you're above it. So just by changing it from color to black and white, near to far away, move it to the left, rise up above it, your brain can't create the same emotion now with it because you changed the picture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of decided I'm going to coin a new term.
Okay, and what is that?
NLT, okay?
NLT. And that
Combine the tapping
Mm-hmm.
with the NLP, right?
Uh-huh.
So if I'm changing those pictures and then I'm tapping those emotions out at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're basically completely changing the association that your brain has with that.
Right.
And so that's like a very simple explanation,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of different processes where they do create movies in your brain that change how you see something. There's something called a swish where you just create a new track in your brain where instead of, like if this picture, seeing yourself here creates this negative emotion, you create a new track in your brain instead of it taking you down this path to feel worse and worse, or procrastination, for example, then you create a new track in your brain where it goes automatically to success and having it fulfilled. And it's like you keep repeating that to your brain, automatically now goes from this being a trigger for laziness, procrastination, I don't feel like it, failure, to now this becomes a trigger for action and success. So it's little brain tricks is really all NLP is.
So if someone were to call you and then just say, hey, I'm just a procrastinator and I want to get over that, what does a typical session look like with you? If they come in and you sit down, talk to them, how does that process work?
Well, it would be nice if there was a typical anything.
There's no typical anything, that's true.
Okay, because here's the thing. So I can do those brain tricks, right? But very often we start talking and there's a lot of emotional stuff that's tied in with it too. Okay, so maybe I think it's just them procrastinating, but it could actually have a whole lot of other things, maybe traumas around studying in school or getting bad grades or parents getting angry with you. And, there can be a lot of things linked into that they don't know that they're linked in.
Right.
It takes somebody, who's skilled, who's been in it, that knows that I need to look for all those other little associations, because we want to clear as many of those out as possible. Because say this is a symptom. Say there's some unresolved trauma, okay, and your subconscious mind, it's always looking for healing and resolution, right? Mm-hmm. So it says, okay, well, I need to get your attention, okay? And so I'm going to create this little problem to try to get your attention. Well, because they don't speak, our subconscious mind speaks in words, pictures, and emotions, and our conscious mind thinks in language and logic. We're like, what the heck's going on?
They're not speaking my language.
They're not speaking my language. I don't even know what's happening to me. Okay? Now, your subconscious mind, it makes perfect sense to it. I'm giving you that stomach ache because you need to get a different job because you're miserable.
Right.
We're like, go take some Pepto-Bismol.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to always treat the symptom, and it's trying to give us a bigger message.
Right.
So if somebody comes in and they just want those little simple fixes, but it's really a bigger message that their subconscious mind is trying to give them, it won't hold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's really, that's why my patients always get the full treatment. Okay. You might come in for something you think is simple, but I know it's rarely that simple.
Right.
Occasionally, rarely.
Right. So when they come and see you, then you sit down and you just start having a conversation. Obviously, you want them to feel really comfortable with you and open up to you. And then you just start asking questions.
Right.
Is that how you explore?
And it's playing, instead of 20 questions, it's 200 questions.
Yeah.
And you never know where it's going to go. And then all of a sudden, they'll just like pop out with something, and you're like, oh, okay. It's like their biggest secret and problem of their whole life, you know what I mean? But as I'm talking and I'm explaining the mind and how all these things, it just, like I said, it becomes that art. It starts off as a skill, and you're studying and you're learning, and then the more you're in it, your intuition starts to guide you, right? what was that movie, that book called Blink or something? I think it was called Blink. Anyway, it talks about how intuition is when you've done something long enough, like you actually did learn it. It's not, I mean, we have our higher guidance intuition as well. But a lot of times it's people who really have studied something, they've mastered it, they've learned it, and now because they have all of that, it's become unconscious competence, right, at that stage. And then you just kind of know that right question to ask, or you have a hunch that it's related to this, and so it just gets a little bit easier.
Right.
You know?
And so now that you've asked those 200 questions and you've kind of figured it out, now at that point do you put them into a hypnotic trance state and work with from there? Mm-hmm. Where do you go from there after you've kind of figured it out?
I mean, you're always going to get at least some hypnosis, but there's different kinds. So there's very interactive hypnosis where I put you into a light trance and we may do a regression back to the root cause. And there's different ways that we go about doing that. But then that's going to be very interactive because you're going to be going through a whole bunch of processes to resolve or change that memory. Remember, memories aren't real. 10 eyewitnesses, 10 different accounts. What matters is how it's making you feel. So if it's making you feel good, keep it. If it's making you feel lousy, let's change it. And it doesn't matter if it's real or fake. You're always going to know which the real one was. But you're giving two different movies, two different pictures with different emotional content, with things that mean different things about you. One's empowering, feeling good, confident. You got a movie where you're this, superhero, just to be silly, and then you got the movie where now your brain has two different pictures to look at, and if it's given a choice, it'll take the life-affirming choice, So that's probably the deepest work that I do is a regression. But it may be a lot of those NLP techniques that we start off with. It may be the tapping. It may be, what else? And it may just be going into that deeper trance, especially if we're dealing with pain and things like that. You're going to get them into the deepest level of trance as you possibly can, and give their subconscious mind information in the form of metaphor and pictures, okay? Because since your subconscious mind doesn't understand words and logic, you can't really just tell yourself, heal yourself, liver,
Be done, yeah.
Right? But if you actually create a picture metaphor and in deep enough trance, your brain knows how to, decipher that encoded message and apply it to your body, which is pretty amazing.
That's great.
So it just depends on the person and what comes up.
Well, do you ever find clients that in NLP, do you find things from past life or from ancestral, and is
right?
What do you do in those cases?
Okay, so I definitely believe in all of that stuff, and I've definitely had many past life regressions done on myself. I tend to attract clients that doesn't come up as much for some reason. We tend to do more current life regressions. Occasionally it happens, but it seems like that's just not the type of people that have been coming to me.
Right, and we all believe in the energy, and so whatever energy you're putting out is the energy that you're receiving. Right. So the clients that are supposed to come to you are the ones that are going to call you and come to you, so the ones that you specialize in. So, well, I was looking at your website, and I noticed that you had a couple of other things on there. So can we just talk a little bit about, say, your bars? You're going to tell us a little bit, just brief, what that is? And
so Access Consciousness bars this is actually information, speaking of woo-woo stuff, since you had to go there. Okay.
I love woo-woo, so.
We are in a wellness center. Yeah. Okay, so Access Consciousness bars was information that was channeled to a gentleman named Gary Douglas. And basically, he said this information didn't exist in this plane, before he channeled it. And it's 32 points on your head. And when you hold your hands there for a few minutes on each point, you can do several points at a time, and then you move to the other points. It's like hitting the delete file on your brain or your mind. Wow. And they say it can delete up to 5,000 years worth of gunk. And there may be, some that are for healing, some for joy, some for body and sexuality, money, control, and creativity, which I know none of us have control issues around money, right?
Right, yeah, right. I need that.
Everybody needs a good bar session. So you know, and some people, it's just like the best thing that's ever happened to them. When I heard about it, I didn't know what it was, but I'm like, I need that. You know, and just my intuition went off like, I need that. Dane here is with Access Consciousness, and he had tried NLP and hypnosis and all kinds of things, and he was a chiropractor, and yet his personal life he was miserable and actually literally suicidal.
Wow.
He had his first bar session run, he said, and he laughed through the whole thing.
Wow.
You know, so we all know that there's a lot of different modalities, and what works best for one person may not be what works best for someone else.
Right.
You got to keep trying because there's healing for everyone. Keep searching. It's worth it till you find what works for you. But for some people, bars absolutely, and it's so gentle and easy. I mean, you are just lying there receiving while I hold these points on your head, and you can talk if you want. You don't have to. So some people really like that because they don't have to like have those 200 questions. They don't have to, bare their soul for the world. Not to be scary. It's going to be gentle anyway. But that it's a very gentle approach to get big change for a lot of people.
And I love the reference that you made to that there's something for everybody, because when I started on this journey, I started into past life regression, and of course, I remember a friend asking me years ago, do you believe in past life? And I said, oh, absolutely not. But then when your life evolves, then you start thinking things different, and it's like, wow, there's possibility there. But then the rabbit hole that we talked about yesterday just kind of gets bigger and bigger, and you find all these different things out there that are available to us to help us heal ourselves, because we all have that ability to heal ourselves. We just don't know how to tap into it. And like you said a minute ago, every combination, whatever the NLP may not work for everybody.
Right.
So the tapping may not work for everybody. So that's why it's really good that you find what works for you, and because everybody has a certain chemistry in their body, certain things resonate. Absolutely. And I think you have to find whatever that is that resonates with you. But have you found yourself down that rabbit hole looking into different things that you haven't pursued yet, or do you have things in the future that you want to do?
What I'm finding now, actually, is that there's so many things that part of me wants to pursue, but that I feel like at this point it would be kind of getting me off of my path.
Yeah.
Because there's so many interesting, fascinating modalities, and I want to learn them all. I want to master them all.
Right.
But I do feel like I have a particular purpose, which is probably morphing a little bit. I'm going to be doing some retreats, and then I also want to start doing some public speaking at some point, and just start bringing more awareness, of people's connection to their higher self and that oneness consciousness. And I just feel like that's my path. So the rabbit hole is ever widening, but I'm having to try to kind of like the dog on the leash, like jerk myself back onto my own path so I don't just keep straying.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have to tell, when I do the past life regression, I connect with the higher consciousness, the higher self of the person, and I'm able to ask questions for myself. And I have been told through that higher self that I need to focus and stay on this path. But I'm like you. I find all of these different things, and I'm so interested, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so thankful we have this wellness hour, that we can bring in different practitioners and learn all those different modalities that are out there, because so many of us, we have no clue, about what is out there and what's available. So we're always in a learning. So I think we're going to take a break here with our sponsor, and we will be right back.
Luminosity Wellness Center is a community of independent holistic practitioners specializing in stress relief, pain reduction, depression, anxiety, weight loss, smoking, relationship issues, trauma, fears, and phobias, as well as everyday life situations. If you are stuck, struggling, or unsatisfied, Luminosity Wellness Center provides answers, solutions, and guidance. Call 702-721-9345 855 or visit our website at luminositywellnesscenter.com. We have a resource center for all your needs, books, CDs, crystals, and more. Inside the center, we have practitioner and event rooms for rent. Come by and check out the facilities at 2400 North Tenaya Way, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89128.
All right, we're back here at the Luminosity Health and Wellness Hour. Today we have with us Serena Denmark, and we are just talking to her about her practice and what she does here at the Luminosity Wellness Center. And briefly, before our break, I asked you about some of the other things that were on your website. So I know you had mentioned that you were doing some classes. You wanted to do some classes in the future. What kind of classes are you thinking about in the future? What would you like to do?
I mean, I've done many classes in the past just teaching about EFT or subconscious mind and different things like that. What I'm focusing on at the moment is doing channeling classes.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, when you were talking about the past life and how we talk to our higher self, and everybody has the, you know, we all obviously have a higher self, and our higher self is always there for us and always communicating with us, but it's sort of like someone's talking to us underwater, and you just can't quite make out what they're saying, and you might not even hear that they're talking.
Right, yeah.
Right? So, so this channeling class, it's a meditation / channeling class, and it's about connecting to your higher self in a very tangible way and developing that relationship through meditation daily if possible. And so the idea is that over time, as you develop that relationship, that message becomes clearer and clearer, you know. And that part of us resides in the part, you know, a dimension or plane of existence where everything is perfect. It's not subject to duality thinking, to conflict, to, you know, right, wrong, good, bad, illness, lack, hunger, anything. That part of us resides in a plane of existence where everything truly is perfect, and that part of us has access to all information, all knowledge, all wisdom. And you know, many of our inventors, the way they got their ideas right was to take that quiet time and just tune in. All the information is there. We simply have to tune our antenna to bring it in. So as we tune our antenna to our higher self, it can become to where you're walking through your day living a channeled life. So that's what the class is called, Living a Channeled Life.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So let me ask you, when you first started connecting with your higher self, what was that like for you? I mean, was it easy for you to meditate? Did you know what it was how to make that
The best
connection?
way to approach meditation is not to judge your meditation, right? Not to get hung up on, oh, my mind's not blank. You know, I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah, because I know my mind just goes and goes and goes, and it's
Right.
really hard to kind
So,
of quiet
you
that
know,
down.
as you get more into hypnosis and self-hypnosis and mindfulness meditations, there's ways to tricks, like those tricks, right?
Yeah.
To calm your mind and come more centered. But just the intention of setting that time to create that relationship, it does something. You know, our intention always creates something. And every meditation is a good meditation. So if you're going to stop judging it and let it be good for what it is. So the reason I'm teaching the class is because I had studied a class with a small group called Teaching of the Inner Christ. They're no longer here in Las Vegas. They're extremely small. And it's just, I'm carrying forth a lot of those same ideas and principles. And so they taught me how to get kind of like a signal from my, what they call Christ self. Which is just your higher self, but that's a part of you that's in Christ consciousness, right?
Consciousness, exactly.
So a signal would be sort of like just that hand on the shoulder, saying, you know, I'm here, right? But you may feel it as a vibration, or you know, warmth, or a slight movement, say of your finger or something. Just anything to let you know it's a special signal from your higher self to let you know I'm here, and then we'll get a name associated with that. And that becomes sort of like your own personal safeguard, you know, to let you know when you're tuned in, to let you know when you're in the presence of truth or non-truth, because that signal will dry up sometimes, and you're like, oh, that's not right, I'm not tuned in. So it's kind of a personal way to connect to your higher self.
Yeah.
So you have a tangible connection, you know.
So let me ask you, do you find like synchronicities, does that have anything to do with your higher self? Like, I know we all have synchronicities. I know the first time somebody said to me, did you notice that the clock said 444? And I'm like, no, I never even paid attention to it. Well, as soon as somebody brought that to my awareness, now, I'm going down this rabbit hole, and now I see 444, 555, 333 everywhere. So does that have any connection at all with?
Of course. I mean, it's when you hear the same information in two or three places, you're like, okay, I got the message, right? But even more than that, just basically being in that tune, you're in that, your intuition is with you. And of course, it took me way too long. We're all still learning, but how many times did my intuition tell me something and I had another idea and I did the other idea and it did not work out well? So learning to trust that, and actually lean into your intuition and go with that, But your intuition can be very unclear. Back to the hypnosis for a moment. When we have a fear, sometimes that fear is letting us know this is not for our highest good. Sometimes it's just something being triggered from our past, right? Mm-hmm. And so until we start clearing out all of those limiting beliefs, all of those triggers, we're not sure if it's our intuition or not,
right?
And so it creates a very cloudy, foggy message, and we don't know how to trust ourselves. So the more we heal, the more we clear, the more we tune in so that we really recognize that signal and connection, the more clear we are, and then we can trust our intuition. But there's, it's understandable why some people have trouble trusting their intuition,
Yeah.
for those reasons.
Well, I know for me, I probably, when I was 12, 13, told that, you have the higher spirit guiding you. And so I think that I've always had that connection, but I didn't understand what it was when I get into this world, because it's a little bit different. You're talking about your higher self. Mm-hmm. And I think, I'm just now starting to connect those dots, I think, to see, well, that's what that is. But, but yet you've been connected your whole life. Pretty much you feel like it.
Arose by any other name.
Yeah. But so it's been kind of amazing being on this journey myself and making those connections, with everybody. I do want to bring up one more thing, because I noticed on your website that you were an author.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about your book, what it's called?
So my book is called The Skeptic's Guide to Transforming the World. And it's talking about a lot of these same things. And it's about how to get back to that oneness consciousness and all the things that keep us from that, all the programming that we receive as children, whether it's personal programming, religious programming, cultural programming, even political, patriotic programming, that keep us, that, we're different from them, and they're the bad guys, and we need to conquer them to feel safe, and all the faces of ego, right? And so it's kind of a journey of oneness to ways to let go of those internal conflicts, as well as which is always how it's
right.
That's just what's being reflected back to us, right, as external conflict.
And so, how did you come up with the name A Skeptic's Guide to Transforming the World?
I just thought it sounded cool.
Yeah. Well, did you find yourself being a skeptic at first? And when
I think I wrote it for the skeptic, because when you talk about peace on earth, people are like, "We're never going to have peace on earth." Yeah, right. Pie in the sky.
Right.
And my favorite saying lately is that Einstein's quote of, "You can't solve the problem at the level of the problem." And if we stay tuned into the way we're dealing with our issues now, you're absolutely right. We can never kill enough bad guys.
Right.
We can never drop enough bombs. We can never eradicate hunger the way we're approaching it. You're right. That's pie in the sky. Can't be done.
Right.
I'm an idealist. Yes, I am. But that's because we have to tune into our higher self, like all of us, like really do it. And once we bring all of that awareness, possibility, potential, enlightenment, consciousness, awareness, new technologies, that some of which we've developed that are being blocked, and some of which we've never even imagined yet, it can happen.
Yeah.
Because we're elevated. It's like that NLP thing, right? Rising up and like, oh, it looks different from this perspective.
Yeah.
We can do this.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I love the title because I know when I first started this journey, I was a major skeptic myself, and so when it caught my eye because I remember when first someone told me that, we all have that energy and ability to heal ourselves, and I'm like, oh yeah, right. Yeah. And then I went to a Reiki session, and I'm sitting there, in Reiki circles, everybody gets around, they work on each other, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, okay, I'm just sitting here, nothing's happening. And so I was always the skeptic. But as I've gotten into this and I'm starting to learn so many more things, you're finding that there's so much truth to all of that. And so many, like you said, things that have been hidden that we don't know about and we're not allowed to know. And that rabbit hole just keeps getting bigger and you keep learning more.
Right.
But I think fear controls us too. I know when I first started, I was really fearful of a lot of things that were happening in the world and getting caught up in all of that.
Right.
And then I finally realized that you just have to be at peace. It's good to be aware of what is going on, but don't get caught up in that fear.
Right.
And do you find that you run into people who
Oh, absolutely.
get caught up into that
But
fear
I guess because I'm very visual, that picture for me, that the fear is inside the Truman Show, and that's not reality.
Yeah.
It's our reality. That was his reality. It seems really freaking real.
Right, it does.
But it's not real. So when I can raise my consciousness above that, when I can tap into that, I can rise above the fear. When I'm caught up in it, then the fear is bigger than me. But when I tune into my higher self, I'm bigger than the fear. And then I'm not as overwhelmed. And then I can see that there's actually no need to be overwhelmed. I just need to be the change that we need to see in the world.
Right. Yeah, and I love that statement, and I have that on my business card actually, be the change you want to see in the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I think that we all need to move forward and be that change. Because we all think that somebody's going to come and save us, but we have to save ourselves.
I did a YouTube video that said there is no savior but ourselves, and they banned it from monetization.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my.
That's so good.
So do you mind if I just, 1 minute, I know we're down really close. So my website's belimitlesshypnosis.com. You have to add the hypnosis on it because another website's belimitless.com. belimitlesshypnosis.com. And super quick, I'm also putting together a 7-day retreat with a girlfriend of mine who's amazing. And this is going to hit every area of your life and get all of those limiting beliefs from past lives, this life, every area, dealing with some of those other things that we're talking about, the agendas that maybe don't want us to be free, and hitting everything out, clearing it all out to reset, hit that reset button in a big way, and so you can create the life that you truly want. It's pay it forward retreats. We really want to bring a new money paradigm to the planet as well, so that you're paying it forward and receiving first, and that's payitforwardretreats.com.
Okay, well, thank you. We want to thank Serena Denmark for coming and visiting with us today. We will have the information at the bottom of this replay, so be sure to look for that, get more information, and come to the Luminosity Wellness Center. And you can go actually to our website and look up all the different practitioners and the different things that we do here as well. So thank you. Namaste. Love and light.
Namaste.